In the endless expanse of the galaxy, stars shimmered like scattered jewels across the darkness, each witnessing civilizations rise and crumble. Empires that had endured for millennia fell overnight, and alliances forged through centuries shattered in moments. In this universe of chaos, humanity was often overlooked, fragile, inexperienced, and dismissed as insignificant by more advanced species. Yet when the galaxy faced threats that no single civilization could endure, humanity rose in a way no one had expected. She had observed countless species, leaders, and heroes over eons, learning that trust was a precious commodity, often betrayed or wasted. Yet when she first encountered him, a human, something stirred within her, a cautious yet undeniable spark of hope. Not the fragile hope of mere survival, but the quiet certainty that this species could defy expectations and stand against the impossible. The galaxy was on the brink of disaster. Ancient coalitions, long held together by fear and fragile agreements, threatened to collapse. Star systems once considered stable now faced unpredictable destabilization due to cosmic anomalies, rogue fleets, and natural catastrophes. Diplomats debated endlessly, generals calculated strategies, and panic rippled across civilizations. Humanity was largely ignored, dismissed as inconsequential, until one human stepped forward. He did not act for glory or recognition. His decisions were guided by principle. Life, in all its forms, deserved protection, and hope was more potent than fear. Where others hesitated, constrained by protocol, pride, or centuries of mistrust, he acted decisively. Traveling across star systems, he met with leaders whose ancestors had waged wars for centuries. He negotiated not with threats but with understanding, insight, and empathy. Even as crises that seemed insurmountable arose, a coalition on the verge of civil war, fleets destabilized by cosmic anomalies, planets facing ecological collapse, he remained unshaken. He listened not only to words but to the fears, hopes, and histories that shaped civilizations. Through this understanding, he forged alliances that no one had imagined possible, transforming enmity into cooperation. She watched in awe as he orchestrated strategies that surpassed the knowledge of any council. Entire fleets moved in flawless coordination. Civilizations once bitter enemies collaborated to stabilize vulnerable systems, and scientists shared discoveries across borders that had once been considered impassable. Where others saw chaos, he saw opportunity. Where history predicted failure, he charted paths to success. As tensions escalated, the first signs of outright war emerged. Warships from rival empires positioned themselves near strategic systems, prepared to strike at the slightest provocation. Panic gripped leaders, yet he remained calm. His presence inspired confidence, even among those who had long dismissed humanity as inconsequential. Slowly, hope spread where despair had once reigned. Every choice he made was a calculated risk, and each gamble brought stability to regions thought irreparably fractured. Systems teetering on the edge of destruction began to recover. Fleets returned to defensive postures rather than attacking, and negotiations that once seemed hopeless began to yield results. He was not merely solving problems. He was redefining what was possible for humanity in the galaxy. She realized that he was unlike any leader she had observed. His courage was not brash or reckless. It was measured, deliberate, and grounded in moral clarity. He understood the weight of decisions that could affect billions of lives, and yet he acted with quiet confidence and compassion. Through him, humanity was becoming more than a species. It was a force capable of reshaping the course of civilizations. Yet, even as victories were achieved, the galaxy's challenges were far from over. Ancient grudges simmered beneath fragile alliances. Cosmic anomalies continued to threaten entire systems, and new conflicts were already emerging where old ones had never fully resolved. This human, and by extension humanity itself, would be tested again, and she knew that the trials ahead would be even greater. As she observed him preparing for the next phase of this unfolding crisis, she felt a mixture of admiration, anxiety, and cautious hope. One human had changed the trajectory of countless worlds, yet the universe was vast, unpredictable, and unforgiving. And still she believed, perhaps for the first time in centuries, that this species might not only survive, but rise to meet challenges that others would deem impossible. And then the first major anomaly appeared, a rift in space, stretching across several light years, emanating energies that interfered with communication networks, destabilized planetary orbits, and even altered the behavior of starships. Panic rippled through every civilization. Councils convened, fleets mobilized, and scientists scrambled for solutions, but no consensus could be reached. The rift threatened to ignite old conflicts anew, and the galaxy teetered on the edge of chaos once again. He did not hesitate. Where others saw insurmountable obstacles, he saw opportunity. Gathering scientists, strategists, and leaders from multiple civilizations, he began to devise a plan. Not through brute force, not through dominance, but through insight, coordination, and the courage to act decisively, he moved across systems personally, ensuring that no detail was overlooked, that no potential disaster went unaddressed. As the rift expanded, affecting entire sectors, he implemented solutions that combined diplomacy, science, and strategy. Fleets from former rivals operated in perfect coordination. Research stations shared real-time data across species, and civilizations that had long been enemies collaborated to stabilize the anomaly. For the first time in galactic history, a unified effort across civilizations was achieving what had once been considered impossible. She watched, amazement replacing disbelief as he stood at the center of the operation. Calm, deliberate, unyielding, he directed fleets and stations, made split-second decisions, and inspired those around him to perform beyond their limits. Where the rift should have caused destruction, order began to emerge. Where fear had paralyzed others, action and collaboration prevailed, and still she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of mysteries, dangers, and challenges yet unseen. One human had already changed the course of countless civilizations, but the future demanded even more courage, ingenuity, and unyielding resolve. She realized then that the story of humanity had only begun, and as she observed him preparing for the next unimaginable challenge, she understood a truth she had long suspected but never witnessed. Sometimes, the impossible could be overcome, not by weapons or fleets, but by the courage, ingenuity, and heart of a single human. The galaxy had barely begun to stabilize when new threats emerged. The rift that had threatened entire sectors receded, but its presence had awakened dormant forces, ancient intelligences that had slumbered for eons, observing civilizations from the shadows. Their motives were unknown, their power incomprehensible, and their awakening sent waves of fear across star systems. Fleets mobilized, but conventional tactics were useless against entities that operated beyond known physics. Panic once again began to take root. She watched the human prepare, not with arrogance, but with a clarity and determination that left her in awe. He did not attempt to confront these forces with weapons alone. Instead, he studied them, learning their patterns, their logic, and their unpredictability. He consulted with scientists, engineers, and philosophers from countless species, building a coalition of knowledge rather than armies. Where others had tried to dominate or evade, he sought understanding. Diplomats and leaders across civilizations watched as he moved from system to system, speaking not only to allies but even to skeptics. He listened patiently to fears and grievances, translating them into plans for cooperation. He united fleets and research stations that had once competed against each other, forging a network of collaboration unprecedented in galactic history. And through it all, he remained calm, focused, and unwavering. The first encounter with the awakened intelligence was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Ships that relied on conventional propulsion were rendered immobile. Communications failed. Energy fields fluctuated unpredictably. Other leaders faltered, unable to make decisions, paralyzed by the incomprehensible nature of the threat. But he did not hesitate. He devised a plan that combined diplomacy, scientific innovation, and human intuition. It was audacious, risky, and seemed impossible, but he pursued it relentlessly. He coordinated fleets to operate in precise patterns, creating energy harmonics that resonated with the intelligence in ways that stabilized its behavior, rather than antagonizing it. Scientists across star systems contributed real-time data, adjusting frequencies and energy outputs with remarkable precision. Civilizations that had once fought each other now collaborated seamlessly. Where the galaxy had expected chaos and destruction, order emerged through the courage and ingenuity of one human and the allies he inspired. She watched, spellbound, as the human moved at the heart of this effort. Every choice he made balanced risk and strategy, empathy and calculation. He anticipated outcomes, adapted instantly to changes, and guided others to act in ways that none could have predicted alone. Entire star systems that had once been on the brink of collapse were stabilized. Fleets that had been divided by centuries of mistrust now operated as a single cohesive force. When the intelligence finally fully manifested, the galaxy held its collective breath. The human strategy relied not on combat alone, but on resonance, communication, and cooperation, concepts that even the most advanced civilizations had struggled to understand. And yet it worked. Energies that had threatened destruction were redirected, stabilized, and harmonized. The intelligence, once an unknowable force of potential annihilation, became a partner in understanding, allowing civilizations to continue without fear of immediate threat. She realized then that this was more than a victory. It was proof that courage, ingenuity, and moral clarity could not only survive the impossible but shape it. Humanity, through this single individual, had transformed a force that had seemed destructive beyond measure into something that advanced understanding and cooperation. But the galaxy remained vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges. Rogue systems, unstable stars, and political tensions continued to simmer beneath the surface. Ancient rivalries had not vanished entirely. They had only been postponed. Yet the precedent had been set. Humanity was no longer an insignificant player. It was a catalyst for unity, courage, and resilience across civilizations. She observed the human as he began planning the next phase, coordinating training for diplomats, explorers, and engineers in the ways that had resolved the intelligence crisis. Generations of humans and allies would now carry forward the lessons of courage, adaptability, and collaboration. Systems once isolated began exchanging knowledge, sharing technology, and building trust. Where despair had once ruled, hope now took root, nurtured by the actions of one human who had dared to confront the impossible. Even as centuries passed, she knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had proven that it could rise to challenges that no other species had faced, that courage could redefine the galaxy, and that understanding paired with audacious action was more powerful than fleets or weapons. And she understood a profound truth sometimes. The smallest spark, a single human heart, could ignite change that spanned light years, altered civilizations, and reshaped the very destiny of the universe. The galaxy waited, watched, and learned. And in that quiet observation, she realized that humanity's story was far from over. The impossible had been challenged, and for the first time, the galaxy knew it could be overcome. Even as the galaxy began to recover from the threat of the awakened intelligence, whispers of another peril spread through the stars. A network of rogue stars, unstable wormholes, and anomalous energy fields appeared in previously charted regions. Entire sectors faced potential collapse as natural and unnatural forces combined in unpredictable ways. Panic once again rippled through civilizations that had only just begun to trust each other. Fleets mobilized, scientists scrambled, and leaders debated endlessly, yet no one had a solution. She observed the human as he analyzed the situation. He did not panic. He did not issue empty commands or seek glory. Instead, he began to study the phenomena with the patience and insight that had already earned him the trust of the galaxy. Every report, every observation, every fragment of data was considered, integrated, and tested against multiple scenarios. Where others saw impossibility, he saw patterns waiting to be understood. Traveling across star systems, he coordinated specialists from countless species. Engineers, physicists, navigators, and even philosophers were gathered to offer perspectives that no single mind could provide. Using a combination of predictive algorithms and human intuition, he devised a plan that was bold, precise, and daring. It required absolute trust, impeccable timing, and coordination across thousands of worlds, a feat that, by conventional reasoning, should have been impossible. The first maneuver involved stabilizing rogue wormholes. These unpredictable conduits threatened to tear starships apart and sever communication across entire sectors. Alone, no fleet could contain them. Even advanced civilizations had failed to predict their behavior. But under his guidance, fleets moved in patterns that harmonized gravitational and quantum forces, effectively channeling the chaotic energies safely. Observers across the galaxy watched in awe as previously doomed ships and stations remained intact, guided by the strategies he had devised. Meanwhile, she noted how he inspired cooperation. Former rivals worked side by side, their mistrust replaced by a shared understanding of necessity and respect. Scientists debated, challenged, and corrected one another, but always under his calm direction, which allowed innovation to flourish without chaos. Every solution was tested in real time, adjusted with precision, and implemented across thousands of systems simultaneously. When the rogue stars began to shift unpredictably, threatening planetary orbits, he acted decisively. He coordinated planetary defense networks, realigning energy shields and gravitational stabilizers in ways no single species had imagined. He anticipated chain reactions, visualizing cosmic consequences that spanned light years and guided others to act with flawless timing. Entire civilizations, once on the brink of fear-induced paralysis, now moved in unison, performing feats that had seemed impossible. She watched him confront the core of the crisis, an unstable supernova cluster poised to erupt in multiple systems. While others evacuated or fortified defenses, he devised a solution that balanced risk, strategy, and empathy. Energy redirection arrays were deployed not merely to contain destruction, but to preserve life and resources wherever possible. Fleets worked in perfect harmony. Scientists coordinated calculations across interstellar distances, and planets previously thought doomed were saved. It was during this operation that she realized the true depth of his influence. Humanity was no longer a single species acting in isolation. It had become the heartbeat of cooperation across the galaxy. One human had not only averted disaster, but had redefined the possibilities of interstellar collaboration. Fleets, stations, and civilizations that had once been fragmented now moved with a singular purpose. Inspired by his example and guided by his vision, even as the supernova cluster stabilized, she could see the weight of his responsibility. His victories had not made him complacent. He knew the galaxy would continue to challenge him, that new threats would arise beyond imagination, and yet he approached every crisis with the same unwavering clarity, blending courage, intelligence, and humanity into every decision. She understood then that this was not merely heroism, it was legacy. One human had shown the galaxy that courage could overcome fear, that ingenuity could bend the impossible, and that compassion could unite beings across light years. The ripple of his actions would resonate for centuries, teaching future generations that no challenge was insurmountable if approached with determination, insight, and integrity. As the galaxy breathed a collective sigh of relief, recovering from the brink of devastation, she knew that humanity's story was only just beginning. More threats would emerge, more anomalies would challenge understanding, and more crises would test courage. Yet with him at the center, guiding, inspiring, and acting where others could not, there was hope. And she realized that sometimes, all it took was one human heart to illuminate an entire galaxy, to defy the impossible, and to show that even in the vastest darkness, courage could shine brighter than any star. The universe waited, watching, and preparing to challenge them again. But humanity, she knew, would be ready. Even as the galaxy began to recover from the supernova cluster crisis, a new and unprecedented threat emerged. Deep within the uncharted regions of space, a colossal anomaly appeared. A living nebula of swirling energy and intelligence, older than most known civilizations, with consciousness that no one could understand. Its sheer presence disrupted star systems, drained power from entire fleets, and caused planetary atmospheres to fluctuate wildly. Panic spread as entire sectors faced the possibility of annihilation. She observed him, calm as ever, analyzing data and coordinating responses. He did not see despair or futility. He saw patterns, potential, and solutions hidden within the chaos. Where others saw insurmountable danger, he saw opportunity for understanding and resolution. His mind moved like a galaxy in motion, calculating variables, predicting consequences, and devising strategies that no one else could even conceive. Traveling across multiple star systems simultaneously, he gathered teams from every civilization willing to cooperate. Scientists, navigators, philosophers, and engineers worked under his guidance, sharing knowledge in real time, adapting theories, and testing innovative solutions as the anomaly's influence grew. Where once mistrust had separated these species, now collaboration flourished. Driven by the quiet authority and insight of one human, the anomaly began to react to every attempt at containment. Energy fields destabilized, communications failed, and several fleets teetered on the brink of destruction. But he did not falter. Using principles of resonance, synchronization, and interstellar diplomacy, he developed a plan that harmonized alien technologies with human ingenuity. Ships moved in intricate formations, energy arrays pulsed in rhythm, and scientists adapted their approaches in real time. Guided by his vision, she watched in awe as he directed a fleet into the heart of the anomaly. It was a maneuver that would have seemed suicidal to any other leader, yet his calculation was precise, his timing impeccable, and his understanding of both physics and the anomaly's behavior unmatched. The fleet navigated the swirling energies, stabilizing key points and channeling them into controlled bursts that prevented catastrophic chain reactions. Planets that had faced imminent destruction remained intact. Entire civilizations were spared, and the anomaly itself began to respond, not with aggression, but with patterns that could be studied and understood. Meanwhile, she noted how he inspired action beyond mere orders. Former rivals became allies. Young leaders found confidence in his guidance, and entire species began to see themselves as part of a greater whole. His presence was not domineering, it was catalytic. He encouraged innovation, nurtured courage, and instilled the understanding that no problem was beyond solution when approached with intelligence, collaboration, and determination. As the anomaly's behavior stabilized, a new understanding emerged. It was not a mindless force of destruction, it was a sentient entity, reacting to the collective will of civilizations that had never before been united. Through his leadership, humans and their allies communicated with it indirectly, aligning energies and intent in a way that allowed coexistence instead of devastation. For the first time, the galaxy witnessed a threat not conquered by weapons or fleets, but through courage, ingenuity, and empathy. She realized then that humanity had reached a turning point. One human had not only protected countless lives, but had demonstrated a principle that would define the future. That courage and insight, paired with collaboration and moral clarity, could solve problems that seemed beyond reach. His influence extended beyond immediate victories, shaping generations of humans and allies to approach challenges not with fear, but with creativity and purpose. Even as the galaxy celebrated this triumph, she knew the universe would continue to test them. Ancient intelligences, unexplored anomalies, and political fractures remained waiting for the next challenge. But humanity had proven its capacity to rise to any occasion, to confront the impossible, and to inspire civilizations to act in unity and courage. She looked at him, standing quietly amid the calm after chaos, and understood the truth she had long suspected. The universe did not measure greatness by fleets, weapons, or power. It measured it by the courage, ingenuity, and heart of those willing to act when others would falter. One human, she realized, had reshaped the destiny of the galaxy and illuminated a path for countless civilizations to follow. And so the galaxy watched, learned, and waited. Humanity's story, far from complete, continued to unfold, carrying with it the enduring proof that even against impossible odds, courage, wisdom, and unity could triumph where nothing else could. Just as the galaxy began to breathe a tentative sigh of relief after the anomaly crisis, the next unimaginable challenge emerged. Across multiple sectors, ancient star systems, long dormant, began emitting signals that no civilization could fully decipher. These signals carried immense energy fluctuations, capable of destabilizing entire fleets and collapsing planetary ecosystems. The whispers of catastrophe spread like wildfire, igniting fear in even the most steadfast civilizations. She observed him, calm, resolute, and methodical, analyzing the patterns and signals with a precision that belied the complexity of the threat. While others panicked, he saw structure within chaos. Every frequency, every anomaly, every ripple in the fabric of space was examined, tested, and understood in relation to the others. His mind moved faster than light, predicting chain reactions and crafting strategies that no one else could conceive. Traveling from one sector to another, he coordinated with scientists, engineers, and strategists from countless civilizations. Communication networks that had once been fragmented were synchronized under his guidance. Ancient knowledge was combined with modern innovation. Every species contributed unique perspectives, yet all operated under the singular vision he inspired: to face the impossible and prevail. The first encounter with the destabilizing systems was catastrophic for those unprepared. Starships were torn apart by sudden gravitational surges. Energy shields failed and entire planetary systems teetered on collapse. Yet under his leadership, fleets moved with precision, predicting the surges before they occurred, stabilizing systems, and evacuating threatened populations with remarkable efficiency. Every action was deliberate, calculated, and executed flawlessly. She watched in awe as he implemented a daring plan to convert the energy emissions into controlled resonances that could stabilize the star systems rather than destroy them. Fleets operated as extensions of one another, linking their energy outputs in a vast lattice of coordinated effort. Planets that had faced certain devastation were preserved, entire civilizations saved from annihilation. His understanding of physics, human intuition, and leadership created solutions that no council, fleet, or machine could have achieved alone. But it was not only strategy and knowledge that defined him. It was his ability to inspire action. Species that had once dismissed humans now followed him with unwavering trust. Young leaders, engineers, and explorers found courage in his example, pushing beyond their limits to implement solutions they had never imagined possible. His presence transformed fear into determination, hesitation into decisive action, and despair into hope. As the crisis unfolded, she realized the full scale of his impact. Humanity was no longer a fledgling species in the galactic hierarchy. It had become a force capable of uniting civilizations, inspiring collaboration, and confronting dangers that no single species could withstand. One human had altered the perception of an entire galaxy, showing that courage, ingenuity, and empathy were more powerful than fleets' weapons or ancient rivalries. The culmination of the effort was breathtaking. The destabilizing star systems, once on the brink of collapse, stabilized under the combined guidance of humanity and allied civilizations. Energy surges were harmonized, gravitational fluctuations controlled, and communication networks restored. Life across dozens of planets was preserved, and civilizations that had once feared extinction now looked to the future with hope. She felt a deep sense of awe and admiration. One human had done what no council, fleet, or alliance could. He had not merely averted catastrophe, he had rewritten the rules of possibility. He had shown that leadership was not about command, that heroism was not about strength, and that survival was not about dominance. It was about courage, ingenuity, and the willingness to act when the impossible loomed. Even as celebrations and relief spread across the galaxy, she knew that new challenges would arise. The universe was vast, mysterious, and relentless. Yet humanity, guided by the example of this extraordinary individual, had demonstrated the power to rise above fear, overcome the impossible, and inspire civilizations to achieve feats once deemed unthinkable. She looked at him, standing amid the calm after the storm, and understood a truth she had long known but now fully comprehended. Greatness was measured not by technology, wealth, or power, but by courage, vision, and the heart to act when all else seemed lost. One human had changed the course of countless worlds, and through that singular act, humanity had become a symbol of hope for the entire galaxy. The galaxy watched, learned, and waited, and in that quiet observation she realized that the impossible could be challenged and overcome, not by fleets or weapons, but by a single human heart willing to act, inspire, and endure. Centuries had passed since humanity first rose to confront the impossible. The galaxy, once fractured by distrust, war, and fear, had evolved into a complex but thriving network of civilizations. Trade routes, research collaborations, and diplomatic councils spanned light years, yet the memory of crises long past remained vivid in the minds of those who had witnessed them. And through it all, the legend of one human endured, not as myth but as living inspiration. She, older now, had seen generations rise and fall. Empires had come and gone, stars had been born and extinguished. Yet the influence of that human, the one she had trusted when all hope seemed lost, persisted. Humanity had grown, guided by his example, courageous, creative, and unwavering in the face of the impossible. A new anomaly appeared on the edges of known space, more complex and unpredictable than anything before. Some civilizations recoiled in fear, certain that survival was impossible. Yet she knew that humanity, carrying the spirit of the human she had trusted, would face it as they had every challenge before. with intelligence, collaboration, and courage. She watched as fleets coordinated not by orders alone, but through a shared understanding of strategy, empathy, and foresight. Humans led initiatives to stabilize the anomaly, integrating knowledge across species, technologies, and generations. Every move was precise, every calculation meticulous, and every action imbued with the same audacity and insight that had defined the human she had once known. The anomaly tested them as never before. Entire sectors trembled under its influence. Communication lines wavered, and the very fabric of space threatened to unravel. But humanity did not falter. Drawing upon centuries of lessons inspired by the legacy of one extraordinary individual, humans devised solutions that balanced science and intuition, courage and empathy. They acted in unity, transforming fear into mastery, chaos into order. As the crisis resolved, the galaxy exhaled collectively. Planets stabilized, fleets recovered, and civilizations celebrated not just survival, but the enduring proof of humanity's capacity to overcome the impossible. She realized then that this was the culmination of everything she had witnessed. One human's courage had seeded a legacy so profound that it had shaped the destiny of entire species, spanning generations and light years. She reflected on the journey, from the first act of trust, through wars, anomalies, and unimaginable threats, to the present moment of harmony and collaboration. Humanity had proven that heroism was not measured by power or weapons, but by the willingness to act, to inspire, and to challenge the impossible. One heart had ignited countless others, creating a chain reaction that transformed the galaxy forever. The galaxy would remember this era not for battles won or technologies invented, but for the courage, wisdom, and empathy that reshaped civilizations. And she who had placed her trust in a human when all seemed lost, understood the ultimate truth. Hope, courage, and ingenuity could endure beyond lifetimes, and one human could change the course of the universe. As she looked upon humanity, now a beacon across the stars, she felt peace. The galaxy was alive with potential, guided by the lessons of one extraordinary individual who had dared to defy the impossible. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, reflecting the triumph of courage and the enduring promise of hope. And in that moment, she knew that the story of humanity and the human she had trusted was complete yet eternal. The impossible had been challenged, the universe transformed, and the legacy of one human heart would echo through the cosmos forever. The end.